Title: Belichick breaks the silence, the CBS controversy and the Jordan Hudson fallout. For decades, Bill Belichick, the legendary NFL coach known for his stoic demeanor and strategic genius, had lived by the mantra, "Ignore the noise." But in the spring of 2025, that noise became deafening. It all began with a routine post-retirement interview on CBS flagship program Gridiron Legends. After stepping down as head coach of the New England Patriots earlier that year, Belichick had largely avoided the media spotlight. But the network had secured a rare sit-down, promising fans an intimate look into the mind of the man who had redefined modern football. The teaser was heavily promoted. But what caught viewers off guard wasn't Belichick's analysis of Tom Brady's departure, or his stoic reflection on Super Bowl losses. It was a segment midway through the broadcast where interviewer Jared Klein pivoted awkwardly to Belichick's personal life. "So, Coach," Klein said, his tone laced with mock casualness, "you've been seen recently with, well, someone quite a bit younger. Care to talk about Jordan Hudson?" Belichick's legendary poker face twitched. "Next question," he said flatly. Klein pressed, citing public interest and social media chatter. The segment ended with a terse exchange that made headlines before the show had even concluded. By morning, the headlines had exploded. Awkward interview, Belichick storms off after Jordan Hudson question, CBS Sports. Is she a gold digger? CBS segment sparks fury over Belichick's girlfriend, TMZ. Inside the shocking May-December romance, who is Jordan Hudson? Daily Mail. CBS fueled the flames by airing an extended online segment that included commentary from relationship experts and media analysts dissecting the so-called power imbalance between the 72-year-old coach and 24-year-old Jordan Hudson, a former college gymnast turned marketing executive. Clips from the interview were edited with dramatic music and a grainy black and white still of Hudson with the word "mysterious" flashed across the screen. For days, the internet erupted with speculation. Twitter, now X, swarmed with memes of Belichick in a hoodie watching Euphoria, and TikTokers churned out videos analyzing Hudson's every post. Belichick, typically silent on personal matters, did something he had never done before: he spoke out. The press conference that shook Foxborough. At a hastily arranged press conference in Nantucket, his unofficial off-season headquarters, Belichick stood at a simple podium in front of a Patriots blue curtain. There was no entourage. No press officer. Just the coach, wearing his trademark hoodie and a calm but simmering intensity in his eyes. "Look," he began, voice gravelly, "I've never been one for the media circus. But what CBS did last week was not journalism. It was a hit job." He paused. "Jordan Hudson is not a story. She's a person." The room fell silent. Belichick continued, more forcefully than most had ever heard him outside a playoff game. "The narrative that CBS put out, that she's some kind of manipulative influencer, mystery woman, or that I'm somehow being taken advantage of, is insulting. To me, sure. But mostly to her. And that's unacceptable." He slammed the folder he was holding onto the podium. "They edited that interview to create a moment. They baited me, and when I refused to play along, they spun the footage to make it look like I was hiding something." Reporters were stunned. Belichick never gave interviews like this, let alone emotional statements about his private life. "She's not a reality star. She's a Harvard grad, she runs her own business, and she's not interested in your soundbites." Then, with a rare smirk, he added, "And for the record, she's the best route runner I've ever dated." The room laughed, but it was clear Belichick wasn't joking about the core issue. Jordan Hudson breaks her silence. That same evening, Hudson released a statement. On her Instagram, accompanied by a black and white photo of her and Belichick on a quiet beach. "I knew dating Bill would come with scrutiny. What I didn't expect was to be portrayed like some shadowy figure in his life, especially by a network that claims to value truth. I'm not a secret. I'm not a scandal. I'm a woman in a relationship with someone I respect and love. She followed it with a link to a fundraiser for a non-profit that supports women in sports journalism, with the caption, "Support real stories, not sensationalism." CBS responds, and digs itself deeper. Initially, CBS released a boilerplate statement defending its editorial choices and claiming the segment reflected public curiosity about the legendary coach's new chapter. But behind the scenes, insiders leaked chaos. Executive producer Maria Callahan was reportedly furious the network had leaned so heavily into the sensational angle. Several segment editors were reassigned. Jared Klein canceled his next 3 appearances and eventually issued an apology via his personal blog, stating, "I was under pressure to deliver a moment. I regret how I approached Coach Belichick during the interview. He deserved better. So did Jordan Hudson. But the damage was done." The aftermath, Belichick and Hudson's media pivot. What no one saw coming, however, was the way Belichick and Hudson flipped the script. 3 weeks after the press conference, they launched a podcast called The Audible, blending football insights with conversations about media ethics, modern relationships, and personal growth. The debut episode featured guests like Michael Strahan and Doris Kearns Goodwin. It shot to #1 on Apple Podcasts within 48 hours. In the second episode, Hudson shared her story, growing up in Vermont, working 3 jobs to put herself through school, and meeting Belichick at a charity event for wounded veterans. "He wasn't intimidating," she said. "He was curious, thoughtful, and surprisingly funny. He asked me more questions than anyone ever had." Belichick chimed in, "She blitzed me with conversation. I never saw it coming." By the end of the month, major networks were lining up to book them. But they kept their appearances limited and curated, refusing to give CBS the exclusive access it once took for granted. Epilogue: The Shifting Narrative. In the fall of 2025, Time magazine published a cover story titled, "Still Coaching, Belichick, Hudson, and the Playbook for Public Truth." In it, media analyst Ayanna Blake wrote, "In a world where optics often matter more than truth, Belichick and Hudson reminded us that personal dignity still counts." CBS wanted a scandal. What they got was a reckoning. The story closed with Belichick, now retired from the gridiron, mentoring young coaches at a high school in Massachusetts, while Hudson worked with nonprofits to train women in crisis communication and PR strategy. "Funny thing about narratives," Belichick said in one final quote. "If you don't like one, don't just complain. Write your own." Here's a fictional, long-form story based on your prompt. Title: False Narrative, The Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson Saga. Chapter 1, The Awkward Moment. Bill Belichick was never known for his charm on camera. The longtime NFL coach was a mastermind on the field but notoriously curt with the media. Still, even his staunchest critics were stunned when a recent post-game interview with CBS spiraled into a viral spectacle, not because of his coaching, but because of an awkward exchange involving his new girlfriend, Jordan Hudson. It started innocently enough. After a tough game that saw the New England Patriots scrape by with a narrow win, Belichick stood at the podium, stone-faced as ever. The CBS reporter, Karen Delaney, a tenacious journalist with a reputation for digging where others didn't dare, pivoted mid-interview. "Coach Belichick," she began with a knowing smirk, "football fans are buzzing about someone new in your life. Would you like to comment on your relationship with Jordan Hudson?" The question hung in the air like a missed field goal. Belichick's lips twitched slightly, but he gave his classic answer, "We're focused on the next game." But Delaney pressed. "Some say she's half your age. She was a college student just a year ago. Do you see how this might raise questions, especially with your position as a role model?" The room went quiet. Belichick's eyes narrowed. He answered coldly, "I'm not here to talk about gossip. Thanks." He walked off. That should have been the end. But CBS had other plans. Chapter 2, The Media Storm. The next morning, CBS aired an extended segment titled, "Inside the Belichick-Hudson Affair, Power, Age Gaps, and NFL Ethics." The tone was sensationalist, backed by dramatic music and clips of Jordan Hudson, once a philosophy major and cheerleader at a small liberal arts college, laughing, dancing, sipping wine on a yacht, and speaking at a student panel about Socratic relationships. Social media exploded. Memes. Hashtags. Think pieces. Hashtag Belichick and the Babe trended for days. TMZ ran with NFL's grumpy genius dates 24-year-old life coach. Even ESPN weighed in, with Stephen A. Smith yelling, "You can't coach character if you're making headlines for dating a TikTok philosopher." Belichick's friends said nothing. His critics said too much. And through it all, Jordan Hudson remained silent, until she didn't. Chapter 3, Jordan Speaks. Exactly 1 week after the CBS segment aired, Jordan Hudson appeared on the Morning Pulse, a rival network's talk show. Dressed in an elegant navy blouse and clutching a tattered copy of Plato's Symposium, she smiled softly and said, "I've been quiet because I thought the truth would speak for itself. Apparently, I was wrong." She described how she met Belichick during a leadership retreat in Nantucket, where she had been invited to speak about mentorship and resilience after going viral for a TEDx talk. She said their connection was based on mutual respect, shared love for military history, and an affinity for Stoic philosophy. "I'm not a gold digger. I'm not a scandal. I'm not an intern looking for attention. I'm a woman with a mind, and I fell in love with a man who respects that mind," she said. But it wasn't just the public she was addressing. It was CBS. Chapter 4, Belichick claps back. 2 days later, a rare personal statement appeared on Belichick's newly launched official website. The recent CBS interview and subsequent segment misrepresented my personal life with factual inaccuracies, biased undertones, and a deliberate framing of Jordan Hudson as a distraction or scandal. That's not journalism. That's a narrative. Let me be clear, I've spent my life coaching men to act with discipline and integrity. I don't take lightly who I associate with. Jordan is brilliant, kind, and far more mature than the so-called professionals who spun this story. CBS owes her, and the public, an apology. Bill Belichick. The statement went viral, and for once, Belichick's gruff demeanor was seen as a shield, not for himself, but for someone he cared about. Chapter 5, The CBS Fallout. CBS stood by its reporting, at first. But internal leaks revealed that Karen Delaney had pushed for the relationship angle despite objections from her producers. Even more damning, someone leaked an internal Slack message where a CBS exec referred to Hudson as NFL Barbie. The backlash was swift. Women's groups condemned the network. Belichick's players, former and current, voiced support for Hudson. Julian Edelman tweeted, "Coach dated someone smarter than all of us. Big whoop. Let the man live." Faced with pressure, CBS issued a lukewarm clarification, stating, "We strive to tell stories with integrity. In hindsight, certain editorial decisions may have overshadowed the personal dignity of those involved." Belichick wasn't impressed. Chapter 6, The Lawsuit and the Lecture Circuit. Belichick and Hudson filed a joint defamation suit. But more surprisingly, Hudson launched a podcast titled False Narratives, Deconstructing Media, Power, and Relationships. Her debut episode, The Coach and the Camera, broke Spotify records for nonfiction storytelling. She and Belichick started appearing at academic panels, speaking at universities about modern myth-making, ageism, and ethical journalism. Hudson quoted Kant. Belichick, unexpectedly, quoted Marcus Aurelius. They were an odd couple, but authentic. A Netflix docuseries was optioned before the year's end. Epilogue, The Last Word. Months later, during a calm summer afternoon at a symposium at Yale, Jordan Hudson sat beside Bill Belichick on a leather-bound panel stage. When asked how they survived the media storm, she smiled and said, "We did what Coach always tells his players, ignore the noise. Focus on fundamentals." Belichick grunted his agreement. And the audience gave them a standing ovation.